All right, let's get right into it. Today we're breaking down the explosive allegations that come from a set of documents known as the Epstein Files. Our source material claims to pull back the curtain on a hidden world of power, influence, and some really dark secrets. Let's see what it has to say. So our source kicks things off with this really chilling question. It frames Epstein's entire world as a gutter for the global elite. It's a powerful idea, right? That there's this place where, for the people at the very, very top, the normal rules just don't apply. This really sets the stage for everything else we're about to cover.
So, to make sense of this whole tangled web, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the big picture. Then we'll dive into the big names involved, look at how this network was allegedly run, and finish up with maybe the most important question of all: has anyone actually faced justice?
Okay, let's begin. According to the source, when the Epstein files were unsealed, it wasn't just another news story. It was like ripping the lid off a secret society, a hidden world that involved some of the most powerful and influential people on the entire planet. Now, this is where our source material gets a little weird, and it's really important we're clear about this. It claims these files were released on a future date, January 30th, 2026. This might suggest that what we're looking at is a speculative account, not necessarily a factual report on the documents that came out in 2024. So keeping that in mind, let's see who it claims was on this list. Billionaires, world leaders, and yeah, even a famous scientist. Next up, the source really zooms in on the world of tech, and it levels some pretty shocking accusations against two of its biggest names. First, Bill Gates. For decades, his public image has been that of a philanthropist, a kind of savior figure trying to solve the world's problems. But the picture our source material paints is, well, it's a lot darker. The source claims that emails supposedly written by Epstein himself allege that Gates had an affair, got an STD, and was so desperate that he begged Epstein for a secret antidote to hide it. Now, Gates' team is denied all of this, but the source does point to one very public piece of fallout: his ex-wife, Melinda, saying on the record that his relationship with Epstein was a factor in their divorce. Next, the source turns its focus to Elon Musk, the guy who's trying to get us to Mars and talks about ethics online. But according to the source, some leaked emails tell a pretty different story. So according to the source, there are these emails from back in 2012 where Musk is allegedly asking about visiting Epstein's island, specifically asking when the wildest party was happening. He supposedly wrote that he was frustrated with work and just wanted to get lost in a wild party. Now, Musk has flat out denied ever going to the island, but the source highlights these alleged emails and a 2014 photo of him with Ghislaine Maxwell. And that brings us into the world of politics, where the source claims the files implicate two of the most powerful men you can imagine, former U.S. presidents. So this slide really lays out the two different sets of allegations. For Donald Trump, the source alleges this deep personal relationship, pointing to 14 of his private numbers in Epstein's contacts and a shocking claim that he accepted a young girl as a gift. Then, for Bill Clinton, the focus is on the 26 alleged flights on Epstein's jet, with the source speculating that compromising videos might have been filmed to be used as political blackmail. Okay, so moving beyond just politics and tech, the source highlights a few other names that it says were genuinely shocking for people to see connected to all this. And this one is maybe the most jarring name in the entire document: Stephen Hawking. The source makes this really disturbing claim that he visited the island and was involved in some pretty inappropriate activities. It forces you to ask this awful question: was his genius just a cover for something much darker? But, the source does also offer another theory, that maybe Epstein just used Hawking's presence to make his whole twisted operation seem more legitimate. And then there's the royal scandal with Prince Andrew. The source calls him a regular and special guest and claims he was sent girls as gifts. The key piece of evidence it highlights is that now infamous photo of Andrew with a 17-year-old accuser, a picture the source says is absolutely real, which completely contradicts what he said. So we've talked about the who, but what about the how? How did this whole alleged operation actually work? This next section gets into the mechanics of control described in the source material. The source describes this really methodical and frankly chilling system. It supposedly all started with Ghislaine Maxwell recruiting vulnerable young women. Then they were exploited and abused. But here's the crucial part. Hidden cameras and secret tunnels were allegedly used to record powerful guests, creating blackmail material. And the final piece of the puzzle, according to the source, was just widespread complicity.
with police, judges, and even the media paid off to keep quiet.
Which brings us to our final and maybe most important section. With all of these insane allegations supposedly out in the open, what's actually happened? Where's the justice?
And this is really the central question our source material leaves us with. It makes the argument that even though the truth might be out, real accountability for the most powerful people involved, well, it's just not there. The source is also careful to point out that some of the wildest online theories, like cannibalism, are not actually in these specific documents. But what is clear is what's happened since. A few minor players have resigned, but the big names have faced zero legal consequences. The source really drives this home with a quote it attributes to Donald Trump, who, when asked about it all, apparently just said he doesn't care.
And so this is where we're left. Our source material paints a picture of a world where massive wealth and power create a reality that's just totally separate from law or morality. It forces us all to ask a pretty fundamental question about our society. If the people at the very top are truly untouchable, what does that say about the system of justice for everybody else?